The gold that disappeared. Mysteries of the lost reserves. Gold has always been more than just a metal. It is the raw material of power, the symbol of trust, and the foundation upon which entire civilizations have built empires. But there's a dark side to this glittering story. Tons of gold have mysteriously vanished throughout history. National reserves, wartime treasures, secret shipments, all gone without a trace. This is the true story of the gold that disappeared, the mysteries hidden inside the world's vaults, and the questions no one has ever been able to answer. It all begins in the late 19th century, when the world still lived under the gold standard. Every bill, every coin in circulation had to be backed by real gold, held in government vaults. In theory, it brought stability. In practice, it created a dangerous game of trust. Nations claimed to possess vast reserves, but few people had access to verify them. It was a golden faith, the belief that the gold existed simply because we were told it did. At the dawn of the 20th century, gold became the fuel of war. During World War I, entire empires drained their reserves to fund battles, weapons, and alliances. Trains loaded with gold crossed borders in secrecy. Ships departed from ports carrying national fortunes, and many never arrived. When the war ended, both victors and losers faced the same question: where was the gold? British and French reports from the time revealed massive discrepancies between what was supposed to exist and what remained. But the true disappearance began during World War II. Hitler understood that gold was the invisible blood of a nation. As his armies swept across Europe, the gold of conquered countries was systematically looted. Entire central banks were emptied. The gold of Austria, Czechoslovakia, Belgium, all taken to secret Nazi vaults or redistributed through neutral banks. Some of it vanished during the final chaos of the war. The legendary Polish gold train, said to be carrying tons of stolen bars, was never found. Treasure hunters still search for it today, buried deep beneath the mountains of Silesia. After the war, the West needed to rebuild trust. In 1944, the Bretton Woods system was born, making the U.S. dollar the global reference currency, backed by gold at $35 per ounce. In theory, every dollar printed could be exchanged for real gold in Fort Knox. But here's the secret. No one outside the government ever saw the gold. Fort Knox became both a symbol of security and mystery. No journalist or independent auditor ever gained full access. Through the 1950s and 60s, as the U.S. poured billions into the Cold War, the space race, and military programs, nations began to doubt whether the gold was still there. In 1971, President Richard Nixon did the unthinkable. He ended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. The gold standard was dead, and with it the illusion of absolute backing. Since that day, the world has lived on a promise that money has value only because we believe it does. Yet the physical disappearance of gold didn't stop. In the decades that followed, new stories emerged. In Italy, rumors spread that some Nazi gold had been melted and mixed into official reserves. In Japan, whispers told of Yamashita's gold, a treasure supposedly hidden in Philippine caves at the end of the war, protected by traps and state secrets. None of these legends were ever confirmed, but investigations uncovered strange documents and suspicious transactions linking Swiss accounts to former officers and central banks. Meanwhile, the Bank of England faced its own enigma. In the 1990s, audits revealed inconsistencies in gold lending records between nations. Bars marked as British were showing up in Asia, and Asian bars were found in London. This was the age of e-paper gold. Contracts that promised ownership of bars no one had ever seen. The amount of gold traded on paper was dozens of times larger than the physical gold actually in existence. In other words, much of the world's gold existed only in spreadsheets. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. As banks collapsed and economies trembled, countries rushed to repatriate their gold reserves. Germany, the Netherlands, Turkey, even Brazil demanded the return of their tons of gold stored abroad. But the responses were slow, sometimes taking years. Why would a nation have to wait for what's supposed to be its own property? The real reason remains unspoken. Some say that gold simply isn't there anymore. China, meanwhile, stayed quiet. As the West debated audits, Beijing silently bought gold, building one of the largest reserves on Earth. Russia followed suit. Both nations understood something the rest of the world had forgotten. Gold is still the ultimate refuge when trust in paper and banks collapses. Today, as trillions of dollars are created digitally out of thin air, physical gold has become almost mythical. National vaults remain sealed. Gold bars are rarely seen. Official reports are based on numbers that no one can independently verify. Fort Knox, the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, all claim to hold vast reserves, but almost no one has ever seen them. Most of the world's gold, if it truly exists, lies hidden behind layers of secrecy and confidential contracts. And so, the gold that disappeared continues to exist as a modern enigma. Perhaps it never truly vanished. Perhaps it simply changed hands, silently following the flow of power, banks and empires that control it. Or maybe part of it really was lost, melted down, sold off, or traded in clandestine operations that will never make it into history books. In the end, the story of the lost gold is not just about metal, it's about trust. Gold has always symbolized stability, but history has shown us that even the most enduring metal cannot protect the world from human greed. When the shine fades, only one question remains. How much of the gold we believe exists actually does? What truly disappeared wasn't just gold, it was certainty. And as long as those vaults stay locked, the mystery will keep glittering in the dark.